Greetings everyone, my name is Tony Holowitz and thank you for being here for this tutorial. On occasion I'll work with someone and I realize sometimes certain fundamentals are maybe overlooked by me as I'm creating these videos and sometimes overlooked by the contacts that I'm working with. So yesterday we had a question about doing a lookup in Act and I thought I'd just touch on this real quick because you have some options when looking up information. I'm going to come up here and go lookup and I'm going to go first name. When I do that, I want you to observe that over here on the right hand side I had put John in here previously and it remembered that. But I think where this gets really interesting and the way you can look at this a little bit differently to find information that's relevant to you is I want you to observe right here it says starts with. Well, if I click on this drop down we have some options. And when you have options like this, it changes the way you can think about Act. So for example, I could find all the contacts where the first name contains the word John. So it would pull up names like Johnny. These options give you some ways to work with Act that you might not have considered before. So for example, one of my favorite ones is when it says equal to, it will only find people that is exactly equal to John. Not equal to, starts with, greater than, less than. So if you look at some of these things and start thinking about it a little bit differently in the way you can look up information, this can be a very useful tool. So that's the first thing. The next thing, I'm going to click cancel and I'll show you an example of what I showed this person that I was working with the other day. Sometimes it's not always obvious the kinds of things you're looking for, but they wanted to do an email campaign. And one of the things we had to find is all the contacts with an email address. So the one common factor in all email addresses is they have an @ sign. And you'll notice right here with my email address, I have an @ sign. Now I've actually had some clients that what they do is in the email field, they'll type in something like get email address to go find their email address. That's how they figure it out. So having said that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go lookup. I'm going to go email address. And there's two ways I could really look for information here. I could say, listen, if the email address field contains data, it would find all the contacts in the database in which there is something in that field. But that field might have that get email address written in there. And I don't really want that. I only want the contacts that have an actual email address. And the way I figure that out is I'll say, you know what? I want to know all the contacts where the email address contains an @ sign. So it will eliminate all those things or all those contacts that someone might have typed in, get their email address or a note to themselves to get the email address. And I'm going to find all the contacts in this database that have an email address because they have an @ sign. So here they are. So here are all the people. And if you observe down at the bottom, there's 116 contacts in this demo database that have an email address. So that's one way you can look it up. Let's go back for a minute. I'm just going to click on any contact here. Actually, I'm going to just come up here and I'm in the web version. So I've had the top part disappear. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go look up last name. I'm going to look me up in here. And here I am. But I want to go back to the lookup again for a minute and show you something. I'm going to go look up first name. And the next thing I want to show you is right here where it says show more options. I can click on this drop down and I have more options. So what I just did is I looked up me, the last name of Holowitz. But if I want to replace this lookup, I can. If I wanted to look up all the people whose first name was Tony, it would replace all the people whose first name is John, for example. But let's say I want to narrow the lookup or add to the lookup. I can do this as well. So I have some other options here. There's also something called an advanced query. That when you open it up, it allows you to do a more advanced query with different parameters. Having stated that, when I get to this point, what I always suggest is I never use this because generally if I'm really doing a search, what I'll do is I'll create a group. So for example, if I want to create a group of all my contacts whose first name contains the word John, and they all have an email address or an @ sign, and maybe they're only in Massachusetts or Florida or California, I can create all this criteria as a group and create a rule that says if these contacts meet this criteria, automatically put them in a group. So as a general rule of thumb, if you're looking up information, the same information over and over and over again, and it has many criteria, don't go through all these steps. Create a group, create a rule so that it goes into that group automatically. So you never have to go search for them, they're just there. And that takes me to really the next idea of looking up information, groups. That's a whole different subject matter. I have a course called Group Therapy that talks about this in greater detail. I'm not going to go there now, but I just want to make you aware you have some options when you're doing lookups. Okay, my friends, you have a great day. Thank you very much. Be well, and as always, reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.